Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Wolph Podcast. Thought I might do something a little different tonight because I'm feeling cool. You know, I got my old vintage Nike sweatshirt that I saw come up on a Facebook post and I got on eBay and bought it. So I'm kind of feeling myself in it. I thought I might go back to the old me. Maybe not who you would expect to get respect. The Wolph Podcast, y'all know that I check these hoes when I get the show going. I turn on the lights. Milwaukee, they came right out of the work truck tonight, and I stick the new battery in. I am the one to come in the door without anybody seeing me. I am the motherfucking Wolph. When I came out here when there was too much bitching going on, so I thought instead of writing a song or making some art, I would come out of here and make some brain farts and stake up the world, get an order of protection. Yo, I didn't even think about my selection of words. I just let it flow like I'm doing now. A freestyle, which is all about. I kinda fucked that up, but that's no problem. I keep it rolling and I got the fucking weed sitting here growing. Don't fuck with me unless you got something on your own chest you wanna get off, then confess. You can sit in front of me and millions on this podcast. Just hit the link, it works like Zoom. You can sit inside this little room with me and remember how it used to be before I took control of my life. That girl's gonna be my wife now because I stood there like a man. I gave us a plan instead of holding her hand and just running around like a fan of someone else instead of myself. You only get one life, so get out and keep your health right. Make a freestyle, don't fucking be afraid to hit the microphone. Let everybody know that you might be home alone, but you got the BB gun sticking it to the erogenous zone of everybody listening. I know that you at home fucking wishing that you were listening like this, but you not. You didn't see the Facebook post and you didn't get what I got. I think I paid 40 bucks for this shit. I said, oh shucks, I don't give no fucks. I'm 49, but I can dress like I'm 9 cause I got fucking young kids. Alright, I'm running out of breath. That was all freestyle, folks. Probably sounded like shit. But, yeah, let me catch my breath here. Holy shit. Decided to do a little freestyle tonight. Despite my relatively decent physique, I clearly need to work on my stamina. So, you can probably hear the heavy breathing. I, of course, have my incense burning, which is a prerequisite of the Wolph Podcast. But I'm going to need to hook up some sort of ventilation. I don't know. I got the windows open in here the best I can. Got a bunch of free windows when I built the place. So, yeah, man, today was a good day. Rained off and on up here at the end of summer. What is today, the 25th? Something like that. Let me check. It's hard to keep the date. Yep, the 25th. I probably missed. I fucking forgot to pay a credit card. Damn it. That was supposed to be paid on the 23rd. Well, late charge. I'll just call up and bitch. Make them take it off. So anyway, how's everybody doing out there in Groton and beyond? This is episode 23, which I started with a bang. And maybe in like the next 5 minutes, I'll catch my breath. I don't think it's genuine to hit pause and catch my breath. So you're going to catch it with me. Yeah, I was a cigarette smoker for like 24 years. I really wonder what my lungs look like now because I've quit for better part of 10 years at this point. So my lungs should be back to normal. That's what they used to tell you. You quit for 10 years, you go back to a pre-smoker's lung. Find that hard to believe. I did some heavy smoking at certain points in my life. The old Marlboro mediums got me. Couldn't say no to those. God damn, were those good. But they'll kill you. And I was really grateful that I prayed to God and God gave me the willpower I lacked. 100%. I had no willpower. I was the worst smoker I've ever met in my life. I mean, one after the next. It was unbelievable. People couldn't believe how much I smoked. It was really gross. It must have been disgusting to be around me. Thank God I had friends that stood by that were non-smokers, you know. Now, if I'm around a chain smoker, no matter how much I like the person, I got to go. I can't do it. You know, a cigarette from a distance sometimes is kind of nice. You know, it's like, oh, yeah, it smells good. That's what drew me in the first place. But if I'm with somebody that's keep lighting up, it's like, oh, I can't breathe. I can't take it. It sticks in my nose and I might as well be back to smoking. So I hate it now for me.
I wish everybody would quit. They are bad, but they're so damn good at the same time. I was just talking with somebody about that. I think the lady I'm working for was telling me how somebody she knew, and I've known people like this, and you have too, I bet, that are like 90 or 100 years old, and they smoked their asses off and drank all the time. And they lived to be old and pretty healthy all the way up to the end. You'd see them out there with their oxygen machines smoking away. And, so if that's the case, if that's a possibility, then maybe it really is parasites causing cancer. I don't know. I think you all have probably seen stuff like that. I don't know anything about it. But I know that we've had some cancer scares amongst people I know recently, and it's no bueno at all. So if we can get to the bottom of it, I'm open. Like, let's not discredit and discount everything that comes along if it's not front page news. And apparently, there's at least a reasonable cross-section of doctors and researchers and scientists who have said that there's a parasitic component to creating these cancers in the human body and in the animal bodies. Because our dogs and cats all get it too, like everything that's domesticated gets it. Now, I'm really curious, how much do they see cancer out in the wild? You never really hear about that, or at least I never looked it up. But you would think they would have to be somebody taking a look at that, whether they tag these creatures and then wait for them to die and go dissect them, see if they've got cancer or what diseases, what parasites. Because maybe they don't get cancer and it's a domestication problem. Something about processed food makes God angry and we're not supposed to do it. Who knows? Anything could be the case. But yeah, anyway, back to, we could talk about parasites and cancer, or we could talk about rap. Shit, man. Started the show off with a freestyle rap, which is not something I've made a habit of doing, unfortunately. I do it with my kids in the car sometimes, and I try to encourage them to do it because it takes balls to do it in front of people. And, even me, like if they get a kid in the car that I don't know, I'm like, shit, man, I'm going to clam up. But if you do it enough, it's no big deal because you gain confidence. But I really enjoy freestyle rap. I think it's dope. And I think you come up with the most clever, creative bars that way. You come up with stuff you wouldn't otherwise come up with because you have to think quick and you have to try to be original. And it just tends to flow through if you open the tap, It's not always bomb. It's not always great and brilliant, but if it comes off well enough to keep the music flowing, it's pretty good. Especially for what we started with rap. Christ, I was listening to Grandmaster Melly Mel. He was my early favorite rapper when I was probably like 3 or 4. And it's really funny. 2 of like the really whitest, most Caucasian dudes I know were my friends through their mom would babysit and they were my parents' friends. And these 2 guys who were like really, really just Caucasian, and not saying that in a bad way, but they don't exactly listen to hip hop that I'm aware of. But back then when we were kids, they got a hold of the Beat Street soundtrack and they brought it over to my house. I was probably 3 or 4 and I heard that. And I heard Grandmaster Melly Mel do the Beat Street anthem. And it totally changed my life. It was the coolest thing I never heard. And Melly Mel was the man back then. Like he was making rap sound really cool and commercial. And he was actually having a political vibe to a lot of it. Even in that Beat Street Breakdown song that I was just talking about, he's pretty political, but so funny. He's pretty old now and he's gotten into TRT and clearly he's into steroids beyond just TRT because he's all huge and jacked and he's probably 70 something. And he came out and had a beef with Eminem, which was fucking amazing. It was so hilarious, dude. And he put out this diss track that everybody just tore apart. They hated it. And it was kind of funny because it was Bobo. Clearly, according to, you're fighting with Eminem, man. Come on, man. This is the top guy. And there was a MGK Eminem rap beef that came out and MGK wrote a song called Rap Devil and everybody loved it. Including me. I thought it was fantastic. What a cool song. And then Eminem came out with Kill Shot as a response, which was also one of my favorite rap songs ever written. So it was really cool. It lit the rap game back on fire. Every once in a while, there'll be a beef between somebody. Like beef is pretty important. We have to have conflict sometimes to keep the fish swimming. If nobody's ever having conflict, like this utopian idea that the communists and the socialists want, I don't think you understand why it doesn't work. You've got to have conflict and struggle. It's just like the idea of catfishing. Not to divert off of this too far, but the term catfish, for people who didn't see the original documentary of where that term came from, which is going online and pretending to be somebody you're not, and making somebody fall in love with somebody that you aren't. And then they find out who you are. And these people will pretend to be somebody and lead these people on for years sometimes. And then they find out they're like same sex or whatever. But the reason he called it catfish came from one of the people, from the husband of the wife who was catfishing the dude that made the documentary. And he said they used to put catfish in with the trout or whatever fish they were when they would bring them from the sea, because they would be in these big vats swimming around. And if they didn't have a catfish in there to nip at their fins, they would get stagnant and the meat would be soft and mushy and nobody wanted to buy it by the time it got to America. So these trout that were getting soft flesh, they'd put the catfish in and they'd swim them around and just keep them agitated. And that's what you got to do with people. We got to stay agitated in some form. And really that comes down to authenticity. If you're being authentic, I think you can get to a resolution eventually. It's when things have been, built upon lies or any kind of disingenuous nature to things. It tends to keep conflict going, but there's no resolution. So we need authentic conflict that's based on truth and honesty and honest feelings and honest needs and honest boundaries and demands and values. And whoever's got the most nukes doesn't necessarily have the right plan. So we all have to work together, but we have to have this agitation, unfortunately, amongst the people, or else we'll all just become soft. We'll all be in white robes going, sitting there in front of some fat dude that everybody worships and everybody's wife have to suck him off on their wedding night. You got to be careful with calmness. If it's too quiet, I get a little nervous, and I'm from the country, but I got to hear something walking through the woods, snapping a twig every once in a while. And sometimes you got to be the one snapping twigs. I think what I've done recently with my relationships like that, I'm the catfish nipping the trout a little bit. So anyways, back to what I was even talking about, that, we need to catfish the population. And, just like anything, rap has to be catfished once in a while. You need a catfish in there, nip it a fin or two. And usually that's 50 Cent. Who else does it? Eminem clearly has done it, or at least triggers responses out of people. Who else? Diddy probably a little bit, but mostly it's these trolls like 50 Cent. And Diddy sucks. Diddy's more like a fucking octopus. Can't keep his hands off anybody. Jesus, the stories that came out of that were unbelievable. I'm sure most people listening probably don't know who P. Diddy is or what happened. But if you're interested, he was a rap mogul that was doing like Epstein-like parties, these big sex parties, and had exclusive people. Even Obama would come to him sometimes. The who's who would be there. And they would all get really high on Molly and liquid GHB. And apparently they would take like sex drugs, like rave drugs, and get super horned up and do crazy shit. And Diddy's whole mission was getting his dick in every dude's butt, apparently, from what I'm hearing. Like, if you worked with Diddy, he was going to be in your butt. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And even down to, I don't want to spread rumors because now this is going out, but there was a rumor, which I don't believe or disbelieve, that Reginald Bell Johnson was caught getting violated by Diddy. So, that money ran out from Family Matters, I guess. Urkel money ran out. The dude that played the dad on Family Matters decided to go beg for something from Diddy. Who knows? Maybe just like getting fucked in the butt by Diddy. Your guess is as good as mine. I really hope Bieber didn't get it, but, there was talk that Diddy had a little Bieber fever, especially when he was a younger man. And, I don't know. There was things that came out. Like there was this one thing that came out that appeared to show a nightclub, and this football or basketball player, I can't remember. He was the one that had the beard, and he was kind of like a fashion icon a little bit amongst the NBA. And there was like this club video somebody caught, and he was leaned in on that dude, and it looked like he was pleasuring him. And he kind of just came up and looked in the camera, like squinting because there was a bright light off the video camera. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He's looking. And I would say it's much more likely he was snorting cocaine than giving this dude a blowjob. Like, people are so crazy. They see anything that resembles something. They're like, "Oh my God, Justin Bieber was sucking off, what's his name?" You know, it's possible. I think there was a lot of goings-ons up there at the Diddy parties. But yeah, Diddy was messed up. He's in prison for a while. And it sounds like you don't want to get on his bad side, but maybe he won't be so rich and powerful now. And he's on a few other people's bad sides, apparently. He was tied to the Tupac murder. Apparently, he put a hit out. His bodyguard, a guy named Gene Deal, came out and spilled the tea. And these other people, Jaguar Wright, it was a little crazy, but she tried spilling as much tea as she could get paid to do. And, you know, there were some other people that told the deal. And this guy, what the hell was his name? Keefe D. There was a guy named Keefe D. I'm pretty sure that was his name. He was like a gangster dude from LA, from Compton. But he was like one of the biggest gangsters in the scene out there, which is saying something. And apparently he was hired for $1 million. That was, you know, it was promised enough that he went and did it. He thought that he was getting paid $1 million to kill Tupac Shakur. And yeah, apparently he never got his mill. So that sucks. Imagine doing that. What a sick bastard. Killing Tupac. How do you kill Tupac? Come on, you didn't like Tupacalypse Now? You're going to kill the guy that made Tupacalypse Now. All that. I wasn't really a huge Tupac fan. That's not taking it, but that's only because I didn't listen to his other albums. I was a huge fan of the stuff I knew. Like, I had the Tupacalypse Now album and played it over and over and over. That's all I played for a while was Brenda's Got a Baby. And then I had, and that whole album, in fact. And then I had, there was a song, Pain, that was on the Above the Rim soundtrack that was outstanding. So he was fucking awesome. He was one of my favorite rappers, but I can't call myself a fan of his because I don't really know his catalog. As much as I love rap, there's certain people I just didn't listen to all their shit. And I have to go back. It gives me something to do because I do love rap. And you should too. Rap's awesome. I remember back in high school, some guy looked at me and said, "Rap is dead. Hip hop's dead." I was like, "You must be out of your mind. Rap's not going to ever die. Rap's awesome." People, I don't know how people keep coming up with cool shit to say and cool beats, but I guess it just keeps working. So keep doing it. There's a lot of fun in there and a lot of bad things too, though, with rap. You know, what I see when I look at the inner city communities, I see the hip hop, mainstream hip hop, as being a main source of perpetuating this gang culture and this criminal culture and this culture that destroys the nuclear black family. And it causes so much chaos, and it goes right up to the record label execs that will pay these guys millions of dollars, but they have to rap about shit that's going to keep the prisons filled. Plain and simple. It's all about you do the list: the cash, money, hoes, drugs, and guns, or whatever. Shout out Harley. That was a rap line in one of our old songs. I used to have a rap group in Delaware way back. Yeah, cash, money, hoes, drugs, and guns is basically it. And you're going to end up in prison again. And just keep going back in and out until you die. It's fucking crazy. That's what they're making the most money off of. These people are invested in private prisons. Obama, and probably the Bush family, and probably probably Donald Trump, probably all of them are invested in some way in the private prison industry. These are privately owned deals, and they just like any business, they want to make profits. And they keep them packed. And one way they keep them packed with black people is with fucking rap music. And it really is like a magic spell. If you're just chilling, no matter where you are, I'm in the quietest little country town. It smells like cow shit half the time up here in upstate New York. But you give me the right rap song and I feel like a gangster, man. Like I'm going to start looking at people mean. It's a magic spell. And to just think what it does to people who are in that environment. It just keeps it going. It pumps it. It's like lifeblood. And that's why you see all this crime out here in the country. A lot of it's the goddamn music, and anybody who tells you different is crazy. The music's influencing the hell out of everything. I was so influenced by music as a kid. And people don't talk about it enough, but the rap music definitely creates an environment where people put in that thug life essence to themselves. Like the most country quarterback will code switch and start talking black in the right situation to get laid or to kick somebody's ass. People turn in, it's so crazy how it's infiltrated the psyche and the vernacular of the entire nation. And it's powerful. There was a guy that came out way back in the 70s and 80s. His name was John Todd. And he went around to the church circuit. So I guess up through the Bible Belt, they'd have this guy, John Todd, come and give speeches to church congregations. And he would tell them how he worked in the music industry, in the mainstream music industry for many years. And he claimed he was part of one of the companies that would put on the tours. So it was a very powerful entity, and he was one of the top executives. Now, I haven't corroborated any of this to know that it's true, but from what I've read over the years, I've never seen anybody totally debunk this dude and say, he was a quack, that was crazy, it wasn't any of that. So as far as I know, he was a major player in the music industry. And he talked about all the Satanism and how it's intentional and how people that they have actual ritual rooms on the top floors of these record executive buildings in like New York City and LA or wherever they are. They'll have up on the very top floor where you don't get unless you got the black card and the key to get there. This is for the top people. You can only imagine how rarely people get access to that are in the know or in that circle. And apparently there are hidden ritual rooms where they'll have an altar, and very high level black magicians and witches will go in there, will take a master. So in spell making, they have a master spell. And in the same way, when they put the music, they put a master spell on it. That's why they call the tapes the masters, like the originals are called the masters. So they'll put them on the altar and put their intention of the chaos they want into it to amplify the lyrics and the content that's already there. And then it spreads that spell, that energy into every person that touches a copy of it. And that's what he claimed. That's what he claimed they did. Now, I have no doubt they might do that. Whether or not that works doesn't really matter, because it does work on its own one way or another. So they can come up with a hocus pocus to tell you that it works. But one way or another, it's black magic. It creates chaos, even in me. And I absolutely love rap and hip hop. But I'll tell you, I don't need gangster rap all the time. I don't want, Lil Loaded in Avatar and King Von or whatever playing all the time in the house with my kids, but they love it. And quite frankly, I do too. And I know that it's evil. It is. It's riddled with evil and demonic impressions. However, it nips the fins, doesn't it? So if we want to be good warriors for God, I don't think that we can hide from the darkness. I think you have to actively dance in the darkness. You have to intermingle with the darkness in many ways if you want to try to understand how to defeat the darkness. If you're not a huge rap fan and you haven't watched crazy shit online, you don't know that it's a magic spell. But once you know, maybe you can use it for good magic, for God's glory. So what I'm announcing tonight, I'm becoming a Christian rapper. Just kidding. Just kidding. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but Christian music, no, maybe it's because I'm demonically influenced, but Christian music, by and large, is goofy to me. Even if it's well done and it's well made. Now, if I was a Christian and I didn't listen to all the secular music, I would probably learn to love it just as much, quite frankly. But apparently what John Todd said is that the lyrics within Christian music are based on the words are meant to give the spell power in the direction of Christ and to send glory to God. So they very intentionally create words that do so and create that feeling for people to emote and emit from themselves, from their spirit. Whereas demonic music, Satan's music, is actually the music itself sends the spell, and a lot of the words are gobbledygook. They don't have to make any sense. They have to just continue to keep people entranced by the actual music that they're hearing in the background. It's all the other stuff that's influencing them. So it puts them in their trance, and then they embody whatever the suggestion is. It's all hypnosis, more or less. So when I hear black magic, I often think hypnosis. It's more or less what it is. You're intentionally misleading people or intentionally making people do things with your suggestions, and that's what black magic is. And the better you are at it, the more powerful magician you are. And some of these people are super powerful magicians. And they clearly are on board. You see all the magical, ritualistic things they do with like their tours and their stage work and their album covers and their songs. The imagery is often very satanic. So you never know. I mean, this isn't what I intended to talk about tonight, but it is something to give some thought, listen, think about what you're putting in your mind. I certainly try to at least have metacognition. You can't hide from the darkness, as I said, but at least be aware you're in it, for Christ's sake. Don't be in the darkness and think you're in the light. That's ignorance and that's dangerous. Metal will do the same thing to you, heavy metal. They have Christian metal, which is super heavy. So I'm not so convinced that that's actual Christian music. It feels pretty damn dark to me, aggressive. But to be honest, when I listen to Christian metal, it makes me feel aggressive against evil more than anything. So I guess it does do its job. I know that I'm listening to Christian music when I listen to that. It does give you power towards goodness. So who knows? I'm still in my spiritual journey. I have not committed to a church or a religion. But really, I am a Christian. Because I believe in the Mother, the Father, and the Son. I believe in the trinity of energies in the universe that are creating us. The Mother and the Father, the light and the dark, yin and yang. And then the phi geometric field that they're creating, the ripples that go forth from their union are the Sun and the phi geometrical world. That's how I see it. I know that sounds stupid. Fibonacci sequence makes up everything, and just whatever that is, the simulation. Probably went off the rails here at the end, but I believe we're in a dream of a very powerful being. And if you look out into your telescope at night, what is the general theme? It's stars and galaxies. There's spiral galaxies. There's a lot of other stuff out there, apparently. But it looks like, if you've ever looked in pond water under a microscope in school, it's like this whole moving world of microscopic things in a sea. And it's very similar to me. When I look out, I see a bunch of paramecium, but instead there's spiral galaxies with like some sort of a spiritual serpent called an Ouroboros at the center, going around the black hole. So I think those are on the next level of creature that I can identify. That's definitely going to lose some audience members. We'll talk about that next time. Look into that though. The Ouroboros, that symbol goes back to the spiral galaxy. But I'm glad that we had a chance to catch up. I did another podcast. I have to go get groceries with the family. Everybody's doing great at home. This is about 30 minutes in, so we'll call it good there. Please don't ask me to freestyle rap battle unless you just want to get absolutely embarrassed. So let me know. We can see what we can do. Love you all out there. Be good. Be good to yourselves. Remember that God loves you. God does have a plan. God is real. I mean, you can come to God if you've got a problem. And just, what's it going to hurt? See what happens. Think positive. I love you all. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.